This is the digitizer table. They really haven't changed much since the 80s. They've come out with a new kind that you can scan and put them in, but they're very expensive. So you're going to be looking at 50% of the companies might have moved on to that by now. And then down here in the corner is the menu that I'll be referring to. Over here is the cursor that you'll need to pick up, but be careful with it because if it falls on the floor it'll break. It's attached by a little line to the top. And then up here in the top corner is my written instructions that I've got taped up there for you. Before you start digitizing, come over to the plotting only computer at the back of the room, and then after you've logged in the same way you log into all the rest of the computers and it's finally turned on, come down to the bottom of the screen in the lower right hand corner and click on the little up arrow so the icons come up down here. The little digitizer icon is, it looks like the little digitizer thing with the tail on it. And it looks very similar to safely remove hardware, but it's aiming in a different direction. So there's not a lot of difference. I will go over this again as part of a screenshot, but start by opening, right click on it first. If there's a problem, you can restart it. I'm going to start by just opening it. Then this big white page opens. It has the name, category, and description. The name that you put in first over at the digitizer will be the name of the piece that it's filed under when you want to look for it. And if all goes well, the piece will start to appear here as you digitize it, and you need to go in clockwise order as always. When you pick up the cursor, you want to hold it with both hands while you're using it. I see some people try to use it in their finger and then they're wobbly. So you want to hold it with both hands. Right here in the middle, there's little crosshairs that you want to line up exactly where your point's going to be. So be precise, use the lines to line it up with. Then there are 4 rows of buttons. The ones that we use the most are the A button, the star button. It's labeled as delimiter. So A, star, and then you've got B, C, and D. B is for notches, D is for drill holes. So always make sure you're pushing the correct button, and it's labeled up here. Curves, you just use the A button for intermediate points. Corners are A1, which is the end point of a line. A1, C1 is a notch. And the rest of them you're not going to be using very much. So A1, A by itself, A1, C1, and then the star is like the period at the end of the sentence. It has this really lame blue tape on it because people keep dropping it and not putting it back in right. So it has something stuck to it so that you have to put it back in without bending the cord. Now, if I hover over either of these squares, it's going to make noise. If you hear noise like that, it means it's working and you can go ahead and start digitizing. The first place we're going to be looking on the digitizer is up at my instruction list. Maybe it's time I typed up a new one, but it's still the same. So if your piece is a closed piece, and I usually treat them all as a closed piece anyway, this is the list in order of everything you need to do to the piece. So just come up and look at it. So it talks about taping the piece down and then using the menu. If it's got a box around it, it means that you go to the menu for that. If you're looking at the letters, I'll show you the little cursor and what those mean, and then move to the perimeter area of the piece is just out on the rest of the table. But if it's got a box around it, you're going to look down at the menu below. So I'm pushing the A button over the rectangle that says Start Piece. I can hear it making noise. Then I need to give it a name, and that's on the list up there too. And the name I'm going to give it is just Test. And I have to spell it out on the keyboard, T-E-S-T. And when I finish with the T, I have to come back over and push the star, because that's like my period. And then I need to put in a category. So depending on the type of piece it is, this happens to be a front, I'm just going to put in FT, and then I need to use the star again. And I need to put in description, and that's going to be front bodice, so FT, BD, and then star again. That finishes the naming section, and then it gives you another rectangle that you need to go to. So I'm going to use the A button over Rule Table and push that, and that has to do with grading. And the one, we're not grading this semester, so I'm going to have you use T no grade, so T space N, where's the O, space, and G-R-A-D-E, and again with the star button to end that sentence. And after that, it shows us that we're going to be moving over to the piece. So I moved the camera and I'm zoomed in on it, and I'm going to resume, and I want to start in the lower left corner of the piece. I want to make sure my crosshairs are lined up right on the very edge, and I'm going to be going around the outer edge of that purple line. I should have used a pencil, but I wanted to make sure you could see, so I'm going to be careful about not wavering. I'm lined up right in that crosshair, and I'm using my left hand to steady it and my right hand to push the button. So the beginning, we need to put on a grain line, and I didn't put it on, so I'm going to use the bottom of this so that it's parallel and put in an A, and then come over a little bit further and put in an A star, and that's the same as grain line. And what if I did it wrong? If I did it wrong, I will fix it after I digitize it. So A1, because it's the end point of a line, and then I'm going to come around and just use A's on all the intermediate points, and I'm putting those in about a ½ inch apart, depending on the curve. And then when I get to the corner, I'm just going to say A1 because it's the end point of a line. I want this line to be straight, so I'm not going to put any intermediate points in. I'm just going to go right to the other corner and say A1 because 2 points determine a line. And I'm going to go back to putting in my intermediate points. Because it's a curve. I don't want to get them closer than a 1/4 of an inch typically. Even that might be too close. Now I'm going to go to the corner and A1. And I probably should put a notch somewhere for you, but I'm just going to A1 because this is another straight line. A1. And then because I want this to be treated like a dart, I'm just going to put in an intermediate point. If I treat it like the end point of a line, I'll have to fix it later. So now I'm back at the corner, A1, and we're going to pretend to have a little notch right here, and that's going to be A1, C1. So it will automatically turn out as a notch. If I forget to put in my notch, I can do it on the screen. A1 again, and this is slightly curved, so I'm putting in a few intermediate points. A1, A for intermediate point, and A1 for a corner. And at the end, I want to end with A1 at the end, and I don't want to come all the way up here. When I put in A1 and I end the piece, then I'm going to come back over here and just say close piece, and I'm using the A button. So that was close piece. Now I want to put in my internals because I have that drill hole. So the internal I'm going to put in, I want to push the internal label button, so A, and I want it to be a drill hole. And then I'm just going to use A again. Sorry about that. And that's just going to be a star. And I wasn't careful. Be more careful than that. And then I'm coming back in and saying and input. After you end input, please put this back carefully where it goes without bending the cord. And then you'll be coming back over to the computer screen. The screen on there now shows that the name of the piece is test. It's a front bodice. This is its rule table, and the storage area that it was sent to was zero share. So the next thing that I would do is say OK and close the piece, and then I'm going to open up AccuMark Explorer. When I open AccuMark Explorer, I'm going to open Zero Share and look for a piece called Test. And it's here. So unfortunately for us, I did it perfectly already, and it's already in. And my grain line is crooked, so I'm going to have to go in and fix that. So I will do one and make a mistake. This time I'm going to leave you over here looking at the screen, and you can watch while I digitize. when I push the end input spot on the keyboard on the digitizer table, the picture disappeared, and now it just shows you where the piece is. So if I open Explorer again, I'm sure this time we have a mistake, so I'm going to zero share, and these little pads right here, you can see where it says 0 test and test 2 and test 3. I made mistakes on both of those pieces. This looks like it has a little digitizer icon instead of something that looks like a pocket piece. And this is what a normal piece looks like, and this is what a digitized piece looks like. Because I didn't do it perfectly, I'm going to have to go in and fix it. And this is what a digitizer file looks like, and this is where my mistakes start to appear. So I'm going to switch to a screenshot instead of the camera for you to watch that part. Once I've digitized my piece, I can come over here and look in zero share, or wherever I set it to go. You can set it to go to the C drive or somewhere, but as you look down the list right here, I have test 2 and test 3. This is what a digitized piece looks like if there's a mistake in it. The one that I did that was perfect is called test, and you can see it over here. And it just went straight into being a piece, but you can see where I need to go in and fix the grain. So that one I could right click on and say open with pattern design, and then it will come up and I can fix the grain line just like I would ordinarily. So that means I taped it to the digitizer crooked. So I would just come over and create a rectangle, say OK so it doesn't disappear, and then modify my piece set rotate, choose a point, 2 points on the line, and then 2 points on the center front, say cancel, and then I would just zoom in on the grain line, say realign, make sure I realign the grain line, touch it, and now I can move the grain line back down there, but now it's as if I digitized it not crooked on the digitizer. So if I want to move the line, modify line move, I can't change the grain line, but I can move it, and then just save. Okay. So that was the one that went in correctly. And back up here at the top, I'm going to go to test 3. And you can see this is what it looks like as it enters the digitizer. So I named it test 3. That's up here at the top. And I can see a mistake right there, but I'm going to go up and look at it. So I typed in start piece, and then test 3, and then that little period star. And you can see here where the X and Y coordinates are on the side. So this is the X and Y coordinate of menu start piece. Period, front, period, front bodice, period, rule table, and then T no grade, so T space, no space, grade, and period. Well, the next thing I was supposed to do was enter the grain line, and the address of my grain line is here, and they should all be on the same Y, but on different X's. So I'm pretty close to that, and I can change it elsewhere. So here where it says it has a 1, I need to change that to be a star because that's what was supposed to have been pushed. And I made mistakes on purpose. So that's the end of the rule table. A star is the grain line, and then this is the outer edge of my piece. And as long as I've got A's and 1s, I did menu close and internal label D for drill hole and then star. So it looks correct. So I'm going to save it. So just plain save. And there it says verify success. So I fixed the piece by making that change right there using the down arrow and looking for the appropriate button. And it's not uncommon for people to have that. You really can't change the interior of the piece when you're digitizing it. You could maybe delete a point that was out of place, but you can see where I typed in front bodice. If I wanted to change the name or change a letter, I could just switch the letter, but it has to look pretty much like that. Okay, so because it says success, I can close it. And if I say yes, then it will ask me if I want to overwrite, and now it works. This still exists, but if I come down to the bottom, I will find test 3 and it will be a piece, and you can see it right here. And that time I did a better job on the grain line. So I'm going to just open that for fun. And I could straighten the grain line again, but you watched that. I have my drill hole where it belongs. That piece looks a little odd, but you can see how I have the end point of lines going all the way around, and this one is an intermediate point, and so is that. But when I did A1, it's the end point of a line, and when I did A, it just created a curve, and then I created endpoints with my 1. So to see where I put in all those intermediate points, I'm going to choose verify, and nope, I'm going to choose view, and point intermediate, touch the piece, so you can see everywhere I pushed just the A button by itself. And if I had done A1, C1, I would have a notch. So try digitizing, and if you need help with it, do your best, save things, and text me and let me know, or make an appointment, and I can help you if I need to.